And we are live.
Yay.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome back to the Content Swap podcast. You are joined by Parker.
And Aaliyah.
Good to see you. Parker and Aaliyah, good to see you. We might be on to something. New catchphrase, new slogan.
Theme song.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
It's Parker and Aaliyah. Good to see you. Content swap.
I don't like that.
We'll workshop it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good start.
Well, what's new this week?
Nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, really nothing.
Working hard.
Yeah, working hard, very tired, but happy it's the weekend as per usual.
Mm-hmm.
We're going on a little trip next week, so
We're going on a trip in our favorite rocket ship.
yeah.
Don't copyright us.
Who's that song by?
Little Einsteins. The TV show.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, we're taking a little trip to Disney World.
Mm-hmm.
Fun little place you might have heard of before. So yeah,
It's pretty small.
It's pretty small.
Nothing
Yeah, pretty
crazy.
tiny. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not,
The rides are kind of rickety.
Yeah, oh yeah, super old school. Like they barely work. Yeah. Yeah, we'll be gone, and
So that
so
means
it'll
we'll
be
have
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks until the next one. But anyway, we're not doing the next one. We're doing the current one. So
Yes.
yes. So who goes first?
I will get us started.
All right.
So last week, I was assigned Pokémon The Movie 2000, which came out in 2000. That sounds like so weird to say.
Yeah.
Came out in 2000. Yeah.
Yeah.
In the year 2000.
I can chime in a little bit more on that later, actually.
Yeah. So to give a summary of the movie, and this is honestly kind of a bad summary. I realized I didn't really take too many notes, so I'm trying to pull a lot from memory.
It's a pretty simple story.
It is, but I think because there's a lot of back and forth. There's a lot of here, there. So
that is very true.
yeah. So hopefully I don't mix up the timeline somewhere. But basically, we kind of start off with seeing this evil man who we know as Lawrence, and we only know that because we had the subtitles on, but they never really say his name is Lawrence.
They just call him the collector. They don't even refer to him. He's just like, I'm a collector. But the subtitles are like Lawrence the Third. Yeah.
Yeah. So this evil man is basically capturing these 3, I think they call them like Titan Pokemon.
They're legendary bird Pokemon.
Yeah. Well, they have this whole description of like Titans and all of that stuff.
That's just the Pokemon movie trying to, be extra about like its lore. 20 years later, it's like they're just the legendary birds.
Got you.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, these birds are ice, fire, and lightning, and they have those like powers.
Do you know the names of these Pokemon?
No.
Oh, it's Moltres, Zapdos, and Articuno.
Ice, fire, and lightning is what I will be referring to them as.
Okay. Well, okay.
It's too hard to keep up with that.
They have a really interesting naming convention, though. It's so like Articuno, it's like Arctic, Uno, like one, and then Zap, Dos, and then Moltres.
Anyway, I will be referring to them as ice, fire, and lightning.
Dos, whatever.
Basically,
It just blew somebody's mind.
Basically, he's capturing these 3 Pokemon in order to obtain and this is where I'm not totally sure, so you might have to correct me, to obtain a treasure from the beast of the sea, which is Lugia.
Nailed it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Making sure I had that right. So when he's capturing these Pokemon, basically this sets like nature out of balance. So like it is like thunderstorming and then all of a sudden snowing and then like the weather's just crazy. Kind of like in today's times, climate change.
Oh my gosh.
But anyways,
who captured one of the legendary birds? It's throwing everything out of whack in real life.
Yes. So nature is kind of out of balance, and because nature is out of balance, the sea is like all choppy and scary. And this is where we see Ash and his friends. They're on a boat, and they kind of get washed ashore to this island. And that's where our story starts.
Yeah.
And so they get onto this island, and a community who inhabits the island comes to them and sees Ash, and they're like, oh, you're the chosen one. We want you to like participate in our festival that we're having based on this like story, like this like lore we have as a part of our community.
Yeah.
He's
not just the chosen one, like he's not immediately like the chosen one in like the greater, you know, happenings of everything. It's just like, hey, we have this like annual festival where like, you know, the first Pokemon trainer that shows up, we're just going to make him the chosen one for the little traditional festival thing that we do.
Yeah.
So that's why they're like, you're the chosen one, despite him
actually being
the chosen one. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So, for their little festival, they get invited to the festival, and they meet this girl named Melody. And like from the jump, I was like, I love her. She comes out the gate with attitude, and it's fantastic. She's like the coolest chick on the block.
And this is the only Pokemon thing she exists in.
Sad. They should keep her around.
I completely forgot that she was even in this movie.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I love her so much. But yeah, so she's like talking to them, and she's like, because you're the chosen one, you have to go on this journey to collect these 3 glass balls from the 3 birds, from the fire, ice, and lightning birds. And he's like, okay. And so, yeah, they go on that journey.
Well, they're like, yeah, you can wait till tomorrow. There's like a pretty bad storm tonight. And he's like, no, I'm going to go do it now.
Yeah. He's like, I'm the chosen one. I have to do it.
Yeah.
So they go out in the storm to do that. And so basically the movie follows him kind of like going through this journey. I'll pinpoint like specific details as we talk about it. But yeah, essentially he obtains those 3 glass balls after, you know, a bunch of stuff happens. And he saves the earth, basically. He like gets the 3 balls, puts them together, and nature balances again, and it's all good.
Where does Lugia factor into all this?
Honestly, I don't really know why Lugia was a part of it. We'll talk more about Lugia in just a second, because I do have some notes on Lugia.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's essentially the movie. In terms of my thoughts, I actually really loved this.
It's a Pokemon movie.
Yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun. It was very cute. It was short, which I enjoyed. And it was just, I don't know, there's parts that make no sense. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
How did we get here?
How did we get out of this cage?
Exactly. I wrote that down. There's this specific scene where Lawrence, so the bad guy, ends up capturing a bird, one of the birds. And while he captures the bird, he also captures Ash and his friends. And he puts them in like a cage. They're like locked in this cage, and this is where they meet him. And he's like talking about who he is and what he's doing and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden it like cuts to a different scene of like kind of what's going on in the outside world. But when it cuts back to Ash, they're like magically out of this cage. And I'm like, 1, how'd they get out of the cage? 2, where did the bad man go? How come he doesn't see that they're out of the cage? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, these are all fair things. I mean, I feel like it's not clear that the collector, Lawrence, is actually like a bad guy. I mean, he's a bad guy because he's trying to, you know, collect these legendary birds, which is throwing the balance of the world out of whack, and he just wants to collect them because he likes to collect things. Mm-hmm. And like, but there's never any moment where he's kind of like, this is all part of my master plan to destroy the world. He's like, I just want to collect them. He's like, I really just want to collect Lugia. And but you know, he's not in the business of collecting people. So when like a bunch of children, like imagine you're trying to capture these birds and then you suddenly capture a bunch of children. I mean, would you just let them go? But then they're just like running around randomly in your little air base with propellers that are spinning super slow, by the way. And like, yeah, I don't know.
If he sees that they're trying to save these birds, he knows that they're trying to. Even if they don't say they're trying to save things, like.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make a ton of sense because he's like, cool, I've got some kids, but hey, I got Moltres and Zapdos. Now I'm going to go back like way up in my tower and try to get Articuno. And then they just get free and are like, well, let's set these Pokemon loose. So yeah, that part doesn't really.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. But
for sure,
at the end of the day, it's a children's movie, and it was fun regardless.
Yeah,
it didn't need to make sense. So yeah. Again, I really didn't write many notes. In terms of melody, she becomes important later in the story. Because Lugia, this beast of the sea, I think it's like, is it Lawrence who like captures all of them, and then that ends up like Lugia ends up getting free? Like, how did Lugia get free first? I don't remember.
Well, yeah, Lugia showed up because look at us theorizing about the
like, I don't
the
remember,
logistics of the lore here. I believe Lugia showed up because the balance got all out of whack, and the legendary birds basically all just started
fighting
each other. Yeah. They were just shooting out beams all over the ocean. Everything's all icy. Mm-hmm. And Lugia shows up because he's like, hey,
stop it.
Cut it out. Yeah.
Yeah. So the way I feel like the movie sets up Lugia is that like Lugia is this like super majestic, like all powerful Pokemon. I thought it was a woman. I'm very sad it was not a woman because apparently Lugia can talk.
Yes, Lugia could talk.
It's like this,
and
like,
it's a grown
voice.
Man.
Yeah. But yeah,
that song. Lugia just does not talk at all. Lugia's there, and then suddenly gets taken out, and they're like, "Whoa!" But then Melody plays her little.
Wait. I'm not there yet.
Well, okay.
So the way they set this up is that like Lugia is this like super all powerful Pokemon, and like the ultimate. And everyone wants Lugia. Lugia is Lugia is weak. Like Lugia can't do anything. Mm-hmm. Because these little bird Pokemons like beat the crap out of Lugia essentially. Lugia is like, I'm dead. And then this is where Melody becomes an important character because Melody has this like ocarina. Ocarina? I've heard people say ocarina.
Oh no, it's ocarina.
Ocarina?
Yeah.
Okay. Making sure.
Yeah. I'm gonna turn the slide on.
Yeah, Lugia has this ocarina that she plays this melody, hence why her name is Melody. And it like brings back Lugia to life.
Yeah, why does she play the ocarina in that moment?
Because the song wasn't there like there was like a song that didn't Lugia sing the song or something?
Yeah,
and then she was like, "Oh, that's the song that I play."
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
it's like do 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 do. Yeah. Well, okay, yeah. So yeah, Lugia, she plays the song, and Lugia pops out of the water, has not spoken once up to this point, and then it's suddenly like, that song, my power is back at 100% now. It's like, what?
But then literally Lugia gets beat again.
Yeah, like fast.
Yeah, and then like dies again, and then here comes Melody like do 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 do.
Well, no, there's a key part where it's like, well, why don't you play the song if it clearly just heals Lugia?
Oh yeah, because they're like, oh no, Lugia.
Yeah,
and it's like just play the song again.
And then they're like, well, I guess we gotta go get the ice ball without any of Lugia's help.
Oh yeah, and this brings us to Jesse and James.
Oh yeah,
because the whole time Jesse and James is there, but
Team Rocket.
Yeah, they're like doing their Team Rocket thing where they're like just kind of following Ash, not succeeding.
How would you describe Team Rocket's relationship to the main characters in Pokemon from your perspective?
They're just like, well, in terms of like in Pokemon, like the show, it's like they're just supposed to be like
somebody's
the
listening
humor.
to this right now and they have no idea what Pokemon is. If you had to describe
Team Rocket,
who's Team Rocket? Yeah,
they're literally placed in there for humor, and they're like they're trying to kidnap Pikachu but never succeed. Yes. And it's like that's supposed to be the humor of their character.
They have like an obsessive addiction to capturing Pikachu. Yeah.
So that's what they really are doing pretty much the whole movie, and they're just kind of along for the ride. And then once Lugia goes down for the second time, Jesse and James are like, let's be good people for once, and let's help Ash get the last glass ball that he needs. And that's what they do.
Yeah, it's interesting. In like every Pokemon movie, because in the Pokemon show, Jesse and James are supposed to be like the bad guys. Mm-hmm. And they're not, they're always kind of just like doing things that are like, oh, we're going to capture Pikachu, or like the episode will be about like, oh, they meet some new Pokemon that they've never encountered before, like Ash and friends, and then Jesse and James will be like, oh, we should steal Pikachu and that Pokemon. And in the movies, they're always like, the movies, they're never the bad guys. They're there because, you know, Jesse and James always have to be there, but they end up always like turning a new leaf towards the good side for the sake of helping Ash, you know, save the world in literally every movie. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, Team Rocket's not really, like Jesse and James specifically, Team Rocket as a whole, as an organization, is evil.
As an organization.
Yes. Team Rocket is like a whole organization. They are like the criminal underworld of the Pokemon. Well, specifically the Kanto and Johto regions.
Oh my god.
Yeah, the first two not seasons, but like the first two generations of Pokemon.
Yeah.
Team Rocket are like the main organization as a whole are the bad guys. Like their boss Giovanni is.
Oh, they have a boss? I didn't know that.
Yeah, Giovanni. He's actually the 8th gym leader of the Viridian City Gym in the Kanto region.
I don't know anything about Pokemon.
Who knew that?
Yeah.
No, I knew that. Actually, a lot of people know that. But
I don't. Yeah, I don't know anything about it.
But Jesse and James themselves are not actually like evil, despite working for this organization. They just have an obsession with like, you know, traumatizing a lot of children into thinking that they're going to steal their animal best friends in like every episode of the show. But like, you know,
but they're good.
They don't want the world to end. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. They're a bunch of goofballs is what they are.
Yeah.
So yeah, so honestly, that is literally all I've written down. Because again, the movie's kind of a simple movie and there's not much to it.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a lot of back and forth of like nothing really happening until something happens. So yeah, so that's all I've got.
Did you like Team Rocket's jokes?
I don't even remember Team Rocket's jokes.
I just wrote down Team Rocket's jokes are not at all landing in this movie. It was not very funny. I've got a whole bunch of things just like not checked off on my list of things.
I was like, I see you have so much stuff.
Well, okay, so the bad guy in this movie is a collector, and they're like, no, that's bad, don't do that. But the whole mantra of Pokemon is like, gotta catch them all. Every Pokemon you come across, it's like, yeah, you catch them. So that part, a little like, okay.
What happens to him at the end of the movie? Like, Ash saves the day and that's it.
Oh, yeah, so like the legendary birds, basically like they take his air base thing down. Yeah. It lands on like Thunder Island. And then, but he's still like at the end, still trying to like, you know, mess around with stuff. And they just like blow the whole thing up.
Oh my gosh.
But then he's just like chilling in the wreckage, and he's like, well, gotta start over. And there's an ancient Mew card.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
There's an ancient Mew card on like the ground, and he's like, like this is where it all started, and so this is where I gotta like, you know, start back up again. And which is really interesting because like I think that's the only time in like the Pokemon animation that Pokemon cards at all are ever referenced like in any capacity. Like they're not a thing in the show. It's like that's just a thing we collect in real life. But here's this guy with this ancient Mew card. But I think that's really interesting because the ancient Mew card was like, if you bought a ticket to see this movie the first week, then you got an ancient Mew card with your ticket, which like, yeah, it is cool. It's a very cool card. And I'm sure now with the Pokemon card craze these days, like it might go for a lot, or it might not, because a lot of people probably still have it. I don't know.
I think it's so interesting. Like when I was a kid, I would always see like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and I would always want to be like a part of that, but I didn't know how. Like I didn't know what it was. I didn't know how to do it. My friends weren't like playing with those things, and I don't know. It's just so interesting to like. I always like hearing when people are like, oh yeah, I had Pokemon cards and like I had this card and this card, and I'm like, oh, I wish I had been a part of that, but I didn't know how. Oh.
Yeah, you just got to go see the movie and they give you free cards. They did that for the Yu-Gi-Oh movie too.
Really?
But it would be like a bunch of different cards. So like for this specifically, it was like you got the ancient Mew card the first week. If you went and saw it the second week, then you would get one of the legendary birds as a card. though I'm pretty sure the area where I went and saw the movie, they ran out of Ancient Mew cards. So I ended up with like a Zapdos card or something, seeing it at the opening.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, with Yu-Gi-Oh, it was like you could get one of 6 cards or something. And some of them were like the Blue Eyes Luster Dragon or something. And others were like this little fur thingy. And it was like lame. It was like Watapon. And that was it. Yeah. Well, I thought it was interesting that it's like, oh, there's the Ancient Mew card right there. This guy, it's like he started his collection with that. And then it ultimately led him to, wanting to collect things so bad that he wanted to get these birds that would throw like the balance of nature out of whack. So I was like, wow, our kids that are receiving this Ancient Mew card, is this like in real life? Is this, the beginning of somebody's...
The start of their villain story?
The villain story, yeah, exactly. They became a poacher when they got older.
Oh no! I hope not. That's so scary.
Yeah. I'm just messing around.
A poacher?
I mean, that's essentially what this man did.
Can you imagine? You like arrest a poacher and like, why'd you do it? Like,
Ancient
started
Mew,
with
man.
Pokemon.
Yeah.
I had to catch them all.
Yeah. Well, I had some like large questions about this collector guy overall. Where did he get
He's so mysterious.
He's super mysterious. Doesn't even have a name unless you look at the subtitles. His big base, like, who's funding this man? Where is he getting his money? Yeah, like where does he get his resources? His technology is clearly very, very good at catch. He catches these birds within like 30 seconds of
with these, like,
attempting to catch them.
Things that like.
So in the greater Pokemon universe, big question mark there.
Yeah.
Are
there no like wiki page that like gives answers to those questions?
I don't think so.
Someone just like made up something and was like, "This is it."
Maybe, yeah. Do you think Pokemon get brainwashed when they're caught to make them loyal?
I don't. That's what I literally. So I asked you this when we were watching it. I was like, how come when they release the Pokemon aren't like, we're free, let's get the heck up out of here? Like,
yeah. I wrote that down after you said that.
Yeah, I was like, why did they just stay? And they're like, just content with captivity, I guess. It's unethical.
I don't know. Yeah.
Pokemon abuse.
It is kind of strange.
Yeah.
All right, I got all kinds of other facts here. Let me try and be concise here, though.
Can I ask you a random question?
Yeah, absolutely.
If you were a Pokemon, what Pokemon do you think you'd be?
Oh, that's a tough question. It'd be cool to be like a Lucario or...
But what do you think your personality fits? Like
probably just like a Charizard. Yeah.
That's that like orange, like
orange
lizard
orange
thing.
dragon. Yeah.
Got you.
I mean, like everybody wants to be Charizard because like, it's Charizard. But I don't know. I mean, like I've never... I feel like I could be like Charizard sometimes. What about you?
We already know this. I am, what is his name? Psyduck?
Oh, yeah.
Because I get bad migraines and then I'm like, I can't think.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. It sucks. I don't want to be Psyduck.
What else do I have in here? Oh, so the writer of the movie actually wrote Lugia to be like this maternal goddess character and wanted it to be female.
That's literally like the vibe you get when you see Lugia. And then I was so put off by this man's voice. I was like, what?
Yeah.
I thought this was like a woman.
The studio ended up going with a male, and that's just
why?
Studio stuff.
Wow.
Maybe they could sell it better to, their like the demographic, which is like what, like 8 to 13-year-old boys.
Dude, but like little boys hate women. Like, like I feel like little boys wouldn't care.
I think like I could see like this is again 2000, so I can see them thinking like, oh, the boys aren't going to respond as well to this like cool female character, like female bird thing, so let's make it a male, because they'll be like, yeah, Lugia's my friend, he's cool.
But that's so interesting, because I feel like like Studio Ghibli, for example, is like majority these really strong female characters.
Yeah, but Studio Ghibli is not motivated by money.
Yeah,
Like,
but what I'm
like,
saying, even though it's not motivated by money, and like I'm sure they're not.
I mean, I'm sure they are, but
Well, yeah, I'm sure they're not like super like we want to make a thing for like young boys.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they have profited off it. It's been like the movies are very popular.
right. I guess it's just like from a production standpoint, like Pokemon and these movies were very much like
Geared towards,
capitalizing on like the popularity, getting stuff out, what's going to, sell the most merchandise. They weren't like, there's not some artist out there that was like, I just really have this story that I want to tell about Pokemon and then made this movie.
You never know.
That's not why they made this movie.
That's funny. I guess. I think that'd be an interesting research study of like, do kids, like,
I'm sure
especially like young boys, do they care?
Oh, I'm sure there's market research that's
probably
been done on that. Easy. Yeah. Okay, what else do I have in here? Just want to say, like, collecting elemental crystals is the oldest anime adventure trope in the book. And I love
It's
it.
not like the glass balls.
Yeah. Like glass balls, crystals with elements associated with them. That is like, that is in everything.
Yeah.
And I love that. Like, I love it.
Yeah.
So I think that's
Can't go
partly
wrong
like
with it.
why I liked this movie in particular rather than like the original movie. What type of Pokemon would you say that Lugia is? Like, between like, fire and all that stuff. Like,
Well, water, because she. See, I literally can't even separate it. He is like the beast of the sea.
yeah, interesting you say that. So it seems to be that most people think that because Lugia in this movie is like in the ocean, and in the games in Gold and Silver version, like you find Lugia in the Whirl Islands, which that whirl is in whirlpool, like deep in this cave in the water. Nope, Lugia is a flying psychic type. If you don't believe me, look it up.
Wow.
Yep.
Psychic how?
What do you mean?
Like what I didn't see any psychic powers.
Exactly. I mean, maybe like psychic in the sense that like Lugia can move things with their mind, and that makes it possible to make like these
little like water
cyclone things, hurricanes. I don't know, but I will say that in the show, there's a whole arc in the show where Lugia shows up. There's actually like two Lugias. One of them's like a child Lugia.
So Lugia is not the name; it's like the species.
Yeah, it's like if there's more than one Pikachu, you'd say like that's a Pikachu and that's a Pikachu. Lugia it's a Lugia. So that's the thing. Like, it's not necessarily clear in Pokemon if there is only just one of a certain legendary Pokemon. In this case, in the show, it was like there's an older Lugia and a younger Lugia. One of them is the child, and in that case, both of them were female. But then in this movie, it's like there's this. They treat it like it's just this one Lugia, and it's like a man.
In Pokemon, has any of the characters like named their Pokemon a name outside of like?
Yeah, actually. So there's this character named Richie, who Ash loses to at the Pokemon League in the first generation of Pokemon. Richie is basically, he's like almost like Ash's doppelganger. And Richie names all of his Pokemon. So Richie has his own Pikachu, and it's got like a little like hair thing on his head to differentiate him between Ash's Pikachu. And Richie's Pikachu's name is, I think it's like Sparky or maybe Zappy. I don't know. But like,
that's cute.
Yeah, I think he's got like a Butterfree named Happy.
Yeah, why don't they name their Pokemon?
Yeah, they just don't do that like at all. Actually, in the first Pokemon movie, there's like some elite Pokemon trainers that have like Venusaur and a Blastoise. And I remember this female trainer had a Blastoise, and she referred to her Blastoise as like Shell Shocker.
That's dope.
Right. I'm like, that would have been that. It's like really cool when they do that. And like in that, I really like the first few Pokemon movies because they definitely like play up like the coolest elements of Pokemon when it was still like very new. Nowadays, I'm like, I I don't watch any new Pokemon.
They still make Pokemon things?
Oh yeah, I mean, I still play the games, like the mainline titles, but I don't, watch any of it. But yeah, they still make the show. They have like 2 shows going on right now.
Wow.
They still make movies. I think the last good movie that I saw for Pokemon, in my opinion, was the Destiny Deoxys movie, which is a 3rd generation Pokemon movie. I thought that one was pretty solid, but I can't. I mean, not 100%. I might be able to. I might go back and look at that and be like, maybe
So
not.
when you say like different generations of things, does that mean like Ash is not in those later generations, or he's like older in those generations, or like?
So Ash only exists in the show.
Okay.
Like he does not exist in any of the Pokemon games.
Got it.
Like any of them. There's like a counterpart character for Ash in the games named Red, and he's just kind of like a basic Pokemon trainer, but he is like a person that exists in the greater like canon, I guess. But the canon between games and the show are like completely different. And then there's like the manga, which is like a whole other thing of just like it's whatever they want it to be in the manga.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, I threw you.
I'm going up and down all over the place on my notes here. Tracy was in this movie. So
Who was that?
Tracy was the guy. It's like Ash and Misty and Tracy.
Oh,
And so,
he looks like our friend.
oh yeah, he looks like our friend, Luis. And usually it would be like Brock, right? Like
Yeah.
you know Brock.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Brock was like was he at the end of the movie or something? He's like with the professor or something?
Yeah, Brock's with like Professor Ivy.
Yeah.
So at this point in the show, this movie takes place after, like, while Ash is in the Orange Islands. And the Orange Islands in the show was just like this arc that was created after Ash finished up everything in the Kanto region, like in the first region. The Orange Islands pretty much existed to give them padding while they were making the 2nd generation up. So while Ash is in the Orange Islands, Brock is not traveling with him. Brock stays with Professor Ivy to become a Pokemon breeder. And I read that the reason why they switched Brock to Tracy, this has only been like stated in one interview with like one person that worked on Pokemon. They said that like they were afraid of, because of how they designed Brock and his eyes, and them like he's got like, he doesn't like, his eyes are like lines, and so they were worried that like Western audiences were going to like make fun of Asian people as a result of like how Brock was drawn.
Yeah.
So that's as a result of that, they switched him out with Tracy.
Yeah.
But then they ended up realizing that people actually really, really liked Brock.
Yeah.
And so then they ended up bringing Brock back and like basically just got rid of Tracy after that.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah. Yeah. But it was, I mean, again, it was only stated in like one interview. I don't think they wanted to like ever comment on that in any official capacity, but yeah. I mean, Tracy's a good character, but like Brock's the man. I love Brock.
I like Brock too.
Brock's hilarious. There's this clip where they're like running in the rain and Brock's always cooking all the time, and he's like, "Hey, now I could turn my frying pan into a drying pan," and he just like holds it above his head it's just dumb, but it's like,
my goodness.
But like in every episode of Pokemon, every time there's a new girl, he's like in love with them, and he's like, "Can I get your email?"
Your email. That's funny.
Yeah.
That's cute.
All right. Anything else I had in here? Oh, so the movie's called Pokemon The Movie 2000, but it's actually called The Power of One. It's like Pokemon The Power of One. And I'm pretty sure they changed it to Pokemon The Movie 2000 as kind of like a marketing thing in the West, because at least I think for the first few Pokemon movies, they are all actually like the first Pokemon movie was sold in the West as Pokemon the first movie, but it's Pokemon Mewtwo Strikes Back. And then it's like Pokemon The Movie 2000, but that's actually Pokemon The Power of One. And then it's like Pokemon The Movie 3, but that's actually like something else.
Yeah.
So and then it's like Pokemon Forever. But I'm pretty sure that's also something else.
That's so interesting. I like want to learn so much more about like when you're taking these movies from like one place that has a specific culture and you're trying to like push it over to like a different place that has a whole different culture, and like those decisions that get made in terms of like, do we change the title to make it like more appealing? Do we change this thing about the character? Like, what do we do? I felt like that's so interesting.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah, I mean, I know quite a bit about Pokemon, so if you ever want to just like have some general fun facts, I'm an open book. I'm an encyclopedia of random Pokemon facts. The way that they censored it in the West, all the times that Pokemon episodes got banned, and like there are instances where Pokemon episodes were aired only one time in the West and then just like disappear. Yeah. And then there are times where an episode will air in Japan and then never make its way to the West because of just like the cultural sensibilities are just different. And it would not have landed well. It's honestly, it's a rabbit hole, but it's a pretty entertaining rabbit hole. Okay, let's see. I did write a point here that Ash just ends up being the chosen one in like every local legend that he like walks into. I just wanted to say that.
He has this whole dilemma where he's like, I don't want to be the chosen one. I can't save the world. I can't do it. And everyone's like, yes, you can. Do it. And I'm like, Ash, come on now. Like,
the whole legend,
I'm sure you've been through this plenty of times.
The whole legend in the movie is like, you know, all of this will happen, and then the Earth will turn to ash. And through the whole movie, everybody that reads that legend is like, oh, well, the Earth is going to get destroyed. It's going to turn to ash. But then there's like a scene where they're like, it's right there in the legend. We're going to turn to ash.
And he's like,
you take care of it. And he's like, wait, what? And he's like, I wish my mom named me Bob.
That's pretty funny.
Actually, speaking of the whole like moving things from like one culture to the other and adapting it for that, so in the Western English localization of this movie, they like play up this romance between Ash and Misty, kind of like Melody's making jokes like, oh, he's your boyfriend or whatever, that I guess like just don't really exist in the Japanese like original version. And like at the end of the movie, Misty's like, Ash has got me, and it's like, okay. But apparently in the Japanese version, she's just like, he's my burden. I gotta, take care of him because they're like friends. Yeah,
a burden.
Yeah. So yeah, it's always just so interesting. And there's just not at all a romantic relationship between them. Yeah. It's like she just is upset that he destroyed her bike in like the first episode, and like she's hanging out with him under the pretext that he's gonna pay her back for her bike one day, but then eventually they just become friends. But, yep. All right. I got like two more main things I believe that I want to say. Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen were considered for the voice of the Collector, apparently.
Who are they?
Patrick Stewart, that would be Professor X and Magneto / Gandalf. Both like, great British actors. So they were considered for the voice of the Collector, which honestly, I read that and I was like, yeah, maybe they were considered, but maybe as soon as they saw the budget, they were like, well, no. Because the guy that does the voice of the Collector is some random nobody. No offense to that guy, but I looked up his IMDb page, and this movie was like his most well-known for thing, and I was like, okay, sure they were gonna get Professor X.
It always surprises me though, these like top tier actors who like take roles that are in these random movies, like.
That's true.
And it's just like, I wonder why they did that.
For Studio Ghibli, they get like a lot of just like well-known actors to do the voices of the characters, which doesn't always work well because just because you're an actor doesn't mean you're a good voice actor.
Yeah. I wonder if it's like their ties with Disney. because they were so like
maybe.
close related to Disney, and like,
Yeah.
so I wonder if like that, well, yeah,
Okay.
Because I feel like a lot of Disney, like especially for the kids, a lot of kids who are on like Disney Channel do the voices for the kids in like Studio Ghibli movies, like Bridget
That's
Mendler.
true. That's true. Yeah.
So I feel like their ties with Disney kind of, I don't know, allow them to, I guess, get these big tier actors. But I will say Billy Bob Thornton as like a voice actor in those movies took me out of that movie. I was like,
I really like in his character in Princess Mononoke. I actually really like.
I was like, his voice is so distinct.
Well, whatever. Still like my favorite movie.
No, it's a really good movie.
Okay, so last thing, when the credits roll on this movie, there's a song that plays. It's called "The Power of One." And it is sung by Donna Summers.
Who's that?
Famous singer. Famous black woman singer. A lot of great hits. If we looked her up, you'd be like, wow.
I probably would know.
So, and I looked into it. Like, this song is original to this movie. She recorded this song for this movie. I would love to know.
That's where their budget went.
Right? I would love to know a little bit more about the story there.
Yeah.
But when I was looking up this song and trying to figure out, some facts on it, I found out that former presidential candidate Herman Cain for the Republican Party back in 2016 apparently quoted the lyrics from this song multiple times throughout his presidential campaign, attributing them to originally the closing song of the 2000 Olympics. That's like what he thought it was from. Then the second time he referred to these lyrics, he attributed it to a poet. And then until like finally later admitting that the song came from Pokemon. But he claims he didn't know that. He claims that it came from the Olympics despite the song not having played during the Olympics.
Maybe it should have.
I mean, maybe. Yeah, I know it was a great song, but I just thought that was so funny. That like somebody in politics had to basically be like, this is actually from Pokemon. Yeah.
That's funny.
All right. That's everything I had.
Wow. That was a lot. But yeah, super fun movie.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Yeah. Pokemon movies are good. I mean, it opens with this like really epic narration. It's like, I like it when Pokemon's going hard in these movies.
Well, you're like, the narration didn't even matter.
That's true. I mean, yeah. It's just like when you're watching the show, it's like, oh, this is so kiddish. But then when you're watching like the movie, they're trying to like kind of play up the epicness, and it's
Amplify
like,
it a little
bit. And that's a lot of fun. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
I wish they did like more of like a Pokemon tournament movie. That would have been cool.
I mean, essentially, isn't that the Ryan Reynolds Pokemon movie?
Detective Pikachu?
Yeah.
There's no tournament in that.
I thought they had like a whole ring fight thing.
Yeah, that was like one Pokemon battle. I would like to see a Pokemon Red and Blue movie or show, like in live action. And this has been like, supposedly this is in the works. I don't know if they're actually working on it or not. But there is like a Pokemon live action Netflix show that's supposedly in the works. We'll see if that ends up happening or not.
Yeah.
But I mean, whether it's on Netflix or whatever, like I would love to see an adaptation of Pokemon Red and Blue, like first generation, but not like with Ash or anything, but just like purely based on just the first generation Pokemon games, like getting all 8 badges, going to the Elite Four, becoming the champion. I would love to see that. Honestly, I would just love to see that even in cartoon form, because like, I mean, Ash, he takes so long to get there. And then when he gets there, he loses. So it wasn't until the 7th generation of Pokemon Sun and Moon, that was the first time that Ash in the show won the Pokemon League.
I actually really love that though.
I mean, I do.
Yeah. I hate when a character always win something,
right?
Because then it's no fun. I'm like, he's gonna win, who cares?
Okay.
But when they lose, it's like, ooh, they literally have to actually get better, or they have to go on this journey in order to be able to win, and it's more exciting.
Well, the story of Red in Pokemon Red and Blue is that he goes to the Pokemon League and he defeats Blue, who became the champion right before he did, and then he becomes the champion. That story is covered in Pokemon Origins, which is like a 4-episode show, which is it basically goes through all of that, but just makes it it cuts through things like super fast. I would love to see a full-blown version of that, because I love that, and I would totally assign that to you at some point, because that's a fun thing to watch, in my opinion. But anyway, we can move along away from Pokemon now. I need to take a drink of water before we start talking about this next movie.
I'm excited to talk about this next movie. It is one of my favorites. Dun, dun, dun.
All right. Here we go. Okay. So last week, you assigned me Mrs. Doubtfire, which, surprise, surprise, I had never seen this movie. It's a classic Robin Williams movie about him living in San Francisco with his family. He is a total goofball. He does voices. He's a voice actor for a living, and loves his kids. They're like his whole world. They really make sure to emphasize that. I mean, that's really his whole character motivation, because it comes to a point where he picks up the kids from school, and I think it's his kid's birthday party. And he gets a whole zoo, and the cops are called for a noise violation and for farm animals being out in the streets.
Livestock. San Francisco.
And Sally Field plays his wife, and Sally Field shows up from work after getting a phone call from the neighbor and is like, what the heck? And they have a fight, and she's like, I want a divorce. And he's like, what? No, don't take me away from the kids. And
he's like, we can go to therapy. She's like, it's been 14 years of misery.
Yeah.
Therapy cannot fix that.
Yeah, she's not down for therapy. So, I thought they both kind of suck in this situation. I don't know. Maybe that's just the reality of how these things kind of play out when a divorce is brewing. But I think that they're both at fault a lot. In this movie. But let's see. What happens after that? So they go to court. Basically, the judge is like, well, because at the beginning of the movie, Robin Williams quits his job because it's like a cartoon that's selling cigarettes to kids, and he's not down for it. So he doesn't have a job, and the judge during their divorce trial is like, you don't have a job, or
a place to live,
so you get 1 day a week with them, and they live with mom, but you have 3 months to basically get it all figured out, and then you'll have joint custody. And in that process, he basically his whole solution to everything, after they find out the mom is so busy that she needs a nanny to pick them up after school and cook for them, and he's like, well, why don't you let me do it? And she's like, no. And which is, I don't know. I think she should have just let him do it from the get-go, but she's like, no. And so then he happens to have access to her personal ad that she's about to put into the paper for hiring a nanny.
He asked to look at it. Yeah. He's like, can I see it? They're my kids. I want to know who you're searching for.
And he changes the phone number on the ad. So then, because he's a voice actor, because he changed the phone number on the ad, nobody's calling her. But then he just calls her a bunch of times using different voices, pretending to be different people, and making them out to be crazy
Bad,
people. And then eventually he does this British woman voice, and then she's like, wow, you sound fantastic. And then he's like, well, now I need to make myself into a woman. And it's just where did he get this idea? And so he goes to his brother, because his brother is, I guess, makes prosthetics.
He I think he's a makeup artist for movies or something. He knows how to.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
Sure. Okay. Do they not know that his brother makes prosthetics?
But who in their right mind would think oh, this is my husband, he got his brother to do this? I would not think of that.
Yeah, it's just weird.
Like that would not be where I immediately go to when I meet the nanny.
Well, he's like, I want to spend time with my kids. I don't want to, have somebody else become close to them. So he, pretends to be this woman, and he makes up this name, Mrs. Doubtfire. Mm-hmm. And as Mrs. Doubtfire, he like starts taking care of his kids, and I guess through pretending to be somebody that's better than he is at raising his kids, he learns to raise his kids better. Mm-hmm. And
I feel like, I don't want to say like raise kids, because I feel like
not raise his kids, but like care for his kids. Being responsible parent while still caring for your kids. Yeah. Which is like, honestly, it's a crazy thing to do. Like,
it's literally they're like, I don't know if you're going to get to it, but at the end, basically, the
judge is reading him out, like, what he did.
Yeah. He's like, you need psychological help.
Yeah. And I'm like, yes, he does. I'm like, as sad as that is, because this is the main character of the movie, but like, that
is a wild thing to do. That is
the appropriate sentence for him. I mean, eventually, like, he gets caught. He gets found out by a couple of his kids first, the older kids, and then
but they keep a secret.
And then through this whole time, his wife starts dating this new guy who's played by Pierce Brosnan, who you might know from like James Bond movies, GoldenEye, all that. And like eventually they're at this dinner, and he, like, his mask falls off, and they find out that it's him, and his wife is like, "Oh, what?" And and
I love the way Sally Field like responds to anything in any film she does, because you literally see every like change in emotion she has in just like her saying this one line over and over.
Yeah.
It's like you see her just being like in disbelief, then you see her being like angry, and then like just like, oh my gosh, we need to go. And it's like, she's great. Such a great actress.
Yeah, no, she's fantastic. But I mean, basically, like, Mrs. Doubtfire's not around anymore after that, because she's like, well, that's just my ex-husband.
She didn't exist to begin with.
But the whole family's like dealing with this like weird Stockholm syndrome like symptom of like, well, it was really cool when she was here.
Yeah.
Things were a lot better. Yeah. It's like they're looking for something to fill this gap that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Which is like, he like psychologically traumatized his family. Like, he gaslights his family through this whole movie. And like, none of this surprises me.
Yeah, it's so funny.
Like, how do I root for this guy?
It's so funny that you, like, after we watched this movie, you were like, he just, like, gaslit his whole family. And I had never thought of it like that. Like, I was just like, oh, that is kind of sad. Mrs. Doubtfire's gone. Like, I was like, I fell into the trap too.
At the time, in 1993, that's what you should be thinking.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
Yeah.
But no, that's crazy.
Looking at facts, though. Which is another thing you mentioned too, is you were like, when Stu came into the picture, you're like, Stu, is he evil? Like, is he gonna be bad?
Yeah.
And I was like, no, he's actually like a good dude. Like,
yeah,
he's just another person who's like come into their life.
Yeah.
It's so funny you mentioned that, because originally they were gonna make him kind of like this villain and like, a bad potential
bad
partner.
Guy.
Yeah. But they didn't like the way that it like would make Mrs. Doubtfire look in terms of their interactions with one another, because then we wouldn't like Mrs. Doubtfire as much if she's like, I guess, battling with him, or like if it brings out the like, well, I don't know, because they kind of do. I don't know. Maybe I read
feel
that
like
wrong.
Mrs. Doubtfire is being super shady.
Yeah.
Stu.
I take that back. I might have read it wrong, but yeah, because they end up doing that whole thing anyway. But so there was that, but also they were gonna make the divorce much of a darker story in terms of like portraying how the kids were impacted by it.
I mean, the first thing I wrote down was like, poor kids.
Yeah.
And divorce is complicated.
Yeah. So they were going to make it a much darker story, but then they decided ultimately not to do that. just to like protect, I guess, its PG-13 rating and also make it just like a nice family movie. Going back to you saying like, oh, he like gaslit the heck out of them. I was like, wow, as many times as I've seen this movie, I could probably act out this entire movie from start to finish because I just love it so much and I watch it all the time. I was like, in all my times of watching it, never once did I be like, this is horrible. Why did he do all that? I'm just like, oh, he ends up back with his family, sort of.
Well, yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Yeah, at the end of the movie, don't get me wrong. I loved this movie. I thought it was great. It was like a very fun, entertaining movie. It's just when I think about the logistics, I'm like, whoa, hey.
Yeah.
But like, he basically like gets a show with Mrs. Doubtfire being kind of like, it's like a children's show.
Yeah.
And he uses the Mrs. Doubtfire character and it becomes like it's educational thing. Mm-hmm. And like his family kind of like finds solace in watching the show. And then Sally Field basically comes and talks to him and is like, I do want you to, pick them up after school and spend more time with them and stuff. And then it's all just solved right then and there. It's the kids are like, well, oh my gosh, Dad, but like, what about the court stuff? And she's like, I took care of it. That's it.
But what I do like, so another fun fact is that the script writer who wrote this didn't write, like, it was written as they don't get back together. They're still divorced. However, like now it's like, okay, well, you can see, I'm not going to take your kids away from you. You can see them. And that's kind of the ending. But when he wrote that, they didn't like it. They were like, no, they need to end up together. They need to be together. So they fired that scriptwriter, hired a new one to write what they wanted, realized this sucks. And then they rehired the scriptwriter to change it back. Yeah, to change it back so that they don't end up together.
I have never heard of that happening. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Mrs. Doubtfire, she was pretty toxic. Like, I'm sorry. Like, she convinces this man is dressed as a woman, pretending to be the nanny, and like he's got all this life experience and stuff, and telling his ex-wife like, don't go out with this guy, be celibate. And then telling the guy that she's going out with, like, oh, she has crabs. Like.
Yeah. But that's like, you see how, like, I think it's supposed to show how bitter he is, how upset he is that, like, he's lost his wife because he still loves her. But she's like, I'm done with this. And so, like, he's like, it's like him coping through Mrs. Doubtfire. And so he's like trying to basically prevent her from dating this guy because he's like, he doesn't want to see it happen. Yeah. It means she's moved on.
Right. Yeah, right. And I get that. I'm just through a real world lens. It's just, that's scary. I would be like, how, well, I don't know. Goodness. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like it would be really weird interacting with your dad after that, finding out that like he was the nanny the whole time.
Yeah. I mean, his son was like, I need a minute.
He's like, I need a minute. He's like, that's cool. It's a man thing. And the kid's like, yeah.
Yeah, he was shook. He was like, what is going on?
Yeah. And there are parts where it's like, as Mrs. Doubtfire, he basically has to listen to his kids be like, oh, I miss Dad. And like, that's got to be rough. But then also to hear his kids say like, Mom is so happy. Like, no. Dagger.
Yeah. And they all really like Stu and like to see your kids happy with another father figure, potential father figure. Yeah.
But like it's almost like, Robin Williams' character is this like big child who learns how to grow up.
Yeah.
And realizes like he doesn't need to be with his wife. She can be happy. He can be happy. They can both be parents to their children. Mm-hmm. And, I like that aspect of it. Overall, like the movie is very entertaining. It's just fun, I guess, to pick it apart a little bit. Yeah. I mean, there's the whole part where like there's a social worker who's supposed to go to his house on like Mondays and Fridays to check to make sure that like his living space is appropriate for children. And there's like a whole scene where she bumps into him where he's dressed as Mrs. Doubtfire, and he pretends to be his sister as Mrs. Doubtfire. Like, oh, I'm his sister. And then he like again gaslights this woman into it's just fun to say gaslights.
Oh my gosh.
He gaslights this woman into thinking he's two different people while she's like in his apartment, which very entertaining for the movies, very scary in real life.
Yeah. I'm wondering because so I read that to put on, you know, all the Mrs. Doubtfire stuff took 4.5 hours, like in the makeup and costume department or whatever. But I'm wondering because you have these scenes where he's quickly like undressing the Mrs. Doubtfire stuff, like the bodysuit, taking off the mask, taking off the hair, and then quickly putting it back on. So I'm like, did they spend 4.5 hours just for him to like constantly be taking it off, putting it on, taking it off, putting it on? Like, I
don't know. So like that's a really good point because he does change in and out of it a lot in the movie.
Yeah.
And there's a shot that I noticed where they're at that dinner towards the end of the movie. There's a shot where there's a man in the foreground looking into the mirror. Robin Williams is dressed, or maybe it's a woman. I'm not quite sure. He's okay. I think he's a woman in the foreground.
Or in the bathroom?
Yeah. He's dressed as Mrs. Doubtfire, walks into the bathroom, goes into the stall, and then walks out as Robin Williams. All while that woman is in the foreground. So it's all one continuous shot. So he goes in and then like immediately walks out. And I was like, how did they get that shot? How did they do that?
Yeah. And he is like wearing like a full suit when he's like as Robin Williams.
Right.
Yeah. So like to be able to take all that off, put all the suit on.
Yeah.
In like that quick of a time.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh.
I don't know. Yeah. Maybe if I had to do that shot, I would just dress up somebody else as Mrs. Doubtfire.
That's what I was thinking.
But
and
I don't know.
Switch them out.
Yeah.
So then it's like the wall, like, or are they just like in the stall? Because wouldn't you see like
it wouldn't require any CGI or anything like that. It would just be, you know, Mrs. Doubtfire quickly walks in. You know it's Mrs. Doubtfire as a viewer. You see, oh yeah, it's Mrs. Doubtfire. You don't look too hard.
Yeah.
And then goes off screen, and then Robin Williams walks into screen.
But it's in a stall, so like they have this tiny space where they have to switch.
She walks off screen in a stall. It's a movie set. It doesn't have to be a tiny space.
Yeah, I guess so. That's why I was like, is there like an open back so that like?
Oh, I mean,
yeah.
May as well be.
I need the details.
It's a movie.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really all I had, other than a lot of his voices and jokes wouldn't hold up today. And that the little girl is super cute in this movie.
Yes.
Like, so adorable.
This was her debut, and then she did Matilda, and then she like went on like an acting hiatus for like 12 years.
Oh, wow.
I don't know. I don't think she's been in anything for a really long time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's everything I really had. Any more fun facts you want to
Yes.
toss our way?
Yeah. So this movie is actually based on a book called Alias Madame Doubtfire by Anne Fine.
Oh.
I didn't really look too much into that book. I just wanted to put that out there. So Mrs. Doubtfire was the second highest grossing film of 1993, and that's worldwide.
Whoa.
Its budget was $25 million, and it brought in $440 million.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Also in San Francisco, the Hillard house, which is like their last name, so the wife, where the kids live, is a hot tourist spot. So maybe next time we're in SF, we should go check it out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm from that area.
Yeah.
Never. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Maybe you've passed it and just like didn't even know.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So Robin Williams decided when they were doing this movie to put on the full Mrs. Doubtfire costume, makeup, and everything, and just walk around San Francisco to see people's reactions to her and everything like that. And that included going into an adult shop and purchasing a ton of sex toys as Mrs. Doubtfire.
He would do that.
Yeah, and no one noticed. Like, no one knew it was him, obviously.
Wow.
And then also to promote the movie, he would sometimes dress as Mrs. Doubtfire and do interviews as Mrs. Doubtfire.
That's pretty okay.
Yeah.
I dig that.
Yeah. In terms of the movie cuts, so there are actually multiple cuts that have different ratings. So the movie came out as PG-13.
Yeah.
However, there is an R-rated version of the movie.
What?
There's a PG-rated version of the movie.
What?
Yeah, because I mean, Robin Williams improvises a lot. So
That's true.
What he would do is he would do the script as scripted, and then they would let him just improvise. And so some of the things were not appropriate. Obviously, they cut it out, so that was PG-13. But yeah, so there's different kind of versions of it. I don't know if you can find them and watch them anywhere.
Interesting.
But
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So I already talked about how Stu was meant to be a villain and everything like that. Tim Allen was actually offered the role of both Mrs. Doubtfire and Stu, but turned it down because at the time he was doing his TV show.
Home Improvement.
Yeah, so he had scheduling conflicts, which I'm very glad he was not. I think Robin Williams is the only person who could have pulled this off.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think Pierce Brosnan was a perfect pick for
Definitely
the other father figure, especially since he ended up playing James Bond. It's like, how do you compete with James Bond? Your wife's trying to get with James Bond. Oh man,
you're in trouble.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, I think this movie was perfectly casted. The oldest daughter was going to be Blake Lively. I don't know what happened there, but I don't know why it changed. But
interesting.
Yeah, I don't know.
Never seen that girl in anything else. So.
I mean, I've watched Gossip Girl. I'm not the biggest Blake Lively fan. I do love Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants.
I've never seen that.
Oh, the main actor.
Yeah.
Who was in it?
The actress. I've seen Blake Lively.
I mean, have you seen anything of Blake Lively's?
Yeah, she was in The Town, Ben Affleck's movie.
Oh, I've never seen that.
I mean, that's over a 10-year-old movie, but like, she did that shark movie a few years ago.
Oh yeah, was it The Meg or something like that?
No.
Was it that one? No, it was something else.
It was.
I watched
it called
on
like
a plane.
Shallows or something.
There you go. I watched it on a plane.
Yeah.
Yes, but anyway, so yeah. How many times do you think Miss Doubtfire said the word dear in the whole movie?
I don't know, 123.
Oh, pretty close. It was 101.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
I was kind of exaggerating.
Oh yeah, 101 times.
Wow.
That's pretty much all that I have in terms of facts. There was a lot more facts, but
okay.
Yeah.
The only other thing that I would think of as an interesting fact is that this movie was directed by Chris Columbus, who is the director of the first two Harry Potter movies. And the score was composed by Howard Shore, who is most known for doing the score of the Lord of the Rings movies. So it's like if Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings got together and made Mrs. Doubtfire. I mean, that's the reality of it. Yeah. I think that's interesting.
How many films do you think are out there that I don't know if this film really sparked this trend, if you even consider it a trend, but this like trope of a man dressing as a woman to be like a nanny or to like infiltrate someone's life. Like I think of someone's life. I don't know how else to describe it.
Yeah.
But like I think of like, you know, you have this movie, but then later on you have like Big Mama's House. That's essentially the exact same thing, except he's like an FBI agent, so he's like undercover. But yeah.
And then there was like what, White Chicks.
Oh yeah, same thing. Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know. I mean, all of those, all three of these movies that we just mentioned, all involve prosthetics, which I think is really interesting. Because I know Dustin Hoffman did a movie, I think in the 80s, maybe, I think, called Tootsie, where he dresses as a woman. He gives this like really emotional interview where he's like, they're putting on the makeup and they're like, you know, trying to make him as pretty as possible. And he's like, no, I want to be like, can't you make like, I still don't look pretty. Can you make me pretty? and the makeup department's like, that's the best we can do.
Oh.
And he got really emotional because that was when he kind of realized like the true experience of like
Of
being a woman. Yeah.
I was gonna pinpoint that because even in this movie, you see like Robin Williams experiencing what it's like to be a woman and to be sexualized by people, like as he's walking the street, to like someone tries to steal his purse, and like to be vulnerable in that sort of sense. Like, yeah, it's interesting. I mean, they don't dive deep into it in this movie, but
right.
Yeah.
Like the Muni driver is hitting on him whenever he's on the Muni.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. But so I guess there are a lot of those types of movies out there.
Yeah.
Huh.
I read a fact too that when this movie came out, it became really popular in like Japan. Like I think it was like the #1 movie for like a few months or something like that in Japan. And like
interesting.
Yeah, and this plot became popular in like different Asian countries and things like that.
Really?
Yeah, which is interesting.
Yeah, that's I have zero theories.
Yeah, no.
Huh. Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
Mm. It was also really popular, I think, in Australia too.
Why was this movie so popular?
I don't know.
Like I've seen other movies that were made in 1993 or like in that era.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, to me, I guess, particularly stand out for any one reason other than it's just a good movie and Robin Williams is firing on all cylinders. You know, like what? Huh?
I don't know. I think it's. I think the makeup and costume and everything is like probably the best I've seen in terms of like that sort of thing. But I don't know, maybe it's just Robin Williams. Like I feel like in this movie
the score was just really good.
But I feel like in this movie it's like, because we know Robin Williams to be like the super funny dude, to like make cool voices and things like that. But I feel like in this movie he gives you like all the stops he has in terms of like being able to do like different voices and characters and like that whole thing, but you also see him like it is still kind of a drama role, so you get to see that piece of him.
When Robin Williams does like drama and emotion, it's like
oh my gosh, have you seen Patch Adams?
No.
Oh my god, I was in tears. That movie I have not watched it since I watched it the first time because I think
I know what is emotional about that movie.
Yeah, I like emotionally can't handle that movie. Yeah, it's so good.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, shoot.
So maybe Robin Williams is just like a big deal.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, definitely like will watch this movie more times throughout my lifetime. But I don't know. Yeah, what is it about it just sticks so hard with people?
I don't know. Yeah.
All right. Anyway,
that's all we got.
Okay. Time to assign. I've made my decision.
Okay. You go ahead.
So as you know, we're going to be gone for 2 weeks. So when you initially hear what I'm going to say, you're going to be like, ugh, but let me explain. So
I'm like, oh no.
I want to give you a video game. But it's only like, I believe it's like 90 minutes long, and you can just finish it in one sitting. And I think that's what you should do. Okay. It's called Journey. I've only played it once. I barely remember it. But the guy that composed it is on this podcast that I listen to a lot called Play, Watch, Listen. It's very good. Go check it out. So I hear him talk about the experience of making that a lot. And I'm like, I've played that game. I know it's really good. But I think it would be an interesting experience to watch you play it. And again, it's only like 90 minutes, maybe 2 hours tops. That's it. Yeah.
I can do that.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. I wanted to give you something animated because I don't think I have assigned you anything animated.
Cool.
Yeah. So I'm giving you a TV show.
Okay.
It's Steven Universe.
Oh.
I love that show so much.
Nice.
Yeah. And I've been holding on to it. Like, when am I going to give it to him?
Yeah.
And I think now's a good time.
Okay.
Yep.
Tight.
Exciting.
Yeah, I'm quite excited for that. Sweet. All right.
Cool. So we have Journey and Steven Universe.
Sweet.
Awesome.
See you then.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.